Hello, everyone. Dr. Vicky here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. We're going to be looking at the last week of August in this video. And before we get started, from an astrological perspective, before we get started, I want to welcome all of the new subscribers. Welcome to this wonderful community, and to my tried and true, I so appreciate your support over the years. Now, we just had a very intense week. However, it's been a joyful intensity. It's been a revelation in a way. And of course, we knew last week was going to be extra special because of the full moon on the first day of the convention, the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Uranus was exactly square. That full moon, we had Uranus square the sun. We had Jupiter square Saturn that day. We had Venus make an exact opposition to Saturn, and a square to an exact opposition to Saturn and a square to Jupiter. So we knew that it was going to, it was an energy that was a culmination of many different cycles that all sort of came together in one big expression. And we were stunned and I guess elated, although I don't like the idea of elation, because if you elate, you will certainly go down. So, but it was difficult, I should say, keeping an even keel at this time, but it very different from the full moon we had last in the month before, July, where to keep an even keel was difficult for different reasons. To say that we've been on a roller coaster would be a understatement. And that roller coaster the ride's not done yet. We will get to the end of the ride. And at any point, you don't have to invest in the emotional ups and downs of this particular roller coaster ride, but you can enjoy the thrill. So what this week is really about is it's a little bit of a sort of, I want to say, a cleanup, but more than, it's not really a cleanup. It feels more like an observational period before we start the new month. I feel like this week is a time for us to ponder, to think about what's happened over the last month. And there are some aspects happening this week that will sort of line up with that as well. So let's jump into the astrology if we could. Remember that August is the 8th month and we are in an 8-year. So the vibration for the month of August was the 16-7, which is the Tower card. And so we knew that there would be illuminations. What the Tower requires us to do is to be our true self. And when we are our true self, our true power comes out. We saw that in Kamala Harris. We saw that in Tim Walz. We saw that in Kamala's husband and Tim's family. Just a real sense of the joy of being and of being your true self, and to have your dreams, to dream your dreams and have your dreams to a certain extent manifest themselves. And for many of us, we had some dreams manifest. So let's jump in and take a look. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're looking at the week of August 25th to August 31st. Today is actually the 25th, it's Sunday. There is no major aspects happening today. We do have the moon in Taurus. The weekend had the moon in Taurus, so we had an opportunity to perhaps rest up and get our feet back under us. By the end of tonight, we are going to have the moon move into Gemini, and so the moon starts the week in Gemini. And of course, Gemini is a planet Gemini is a sign associated with communication. So we can expect to hear a lot of things this week. We start Monday the 26th with the last quarter moon in Gemini. This last quarter moon is part of the lunation cycle, which is the cycle between the sun and the moon. And that cycle began with new moon in Leo. I believe it was on the 4th. It was at 13 degrees of Leo. And we had the full moon as the halfway point of that cycle that occurred last Monday on the 19th. And now, as Monday rolls around again, we get the last quarter crisis in consciousness moon. This is when we move in the direction of individuation. We individuate out of the consensus, and then we move towards a more collective and progressive future. That is the energy of the next 7 days in the cycle of the sun and the sun and the moon. On Tuesday, we have Venus make a trine to Uranus. Venus is at 28 degrees of Virgo. Uranus at 28 degrees of Taurus. Pretty much been sitting there for quite a while now. And then on Wednesday, we have the same Venus make an opposition to Neptune. That it only occurs a day later. Uranus and Neptune are in a sextile to each other at this point. Is that true? Yes, they're in a sextile to each other. The Venus opposite Neptune is the halfway point of the Venus-Neptune synod. We will look at that when we look at the charts. And the interesting thing about Venus and Neptune is it has a very special relationship because Neptune is considered the higher octave of Venus. Venus is our values. It's what we love. It's what's important to us. And Neptune is the planet of the idea of love and merging brought to its highest level. Now, it can be very idealistic. It can really be an ideal situation, but it can also be delusional. So what we might see is certain folks, their ideal situation come into manifestation. The opposition is the point of harvest, really, of this cycle. And others will realize that they have been in a delusional state. So we can see both sides of those things in the outer world and perhaps in your world as well. On the same day, the 28th, Mercury stations direct. Remember, it's been retrograde since, I think the second or the third. It started its retrograde in Virgo, retrograded back into Leo, and is turning direct at 22 degrees of Leo. On Thursday, the 29th, we have Venus. She was just, making these aspects to Neptune and Uranus from the last degrees of Virgo. And so on the 29th, she moves into Libra, which is one of the planets and one of the signs of her rulership. So she's very comfortable in Libra. And I think that's great because we could all certainly use a little comfort, couldn't we, ladies? And then on the same day, we have Venus making a trine to Pluto. Pluto is just about out of Aquarius because on the 1st of September, it will move back into Capricorn and will stay in Capricorn for about 2.5 months, moving out of Capricorn on the 20th of November. So there's one more thing that Pluto and Capricorn has to say to us, but we don't have to worry about that for another couple of days because we have now it making this trine to Venus. And the interesting thing about this trine is the initial seed of this occurred back in February 17th. And it was at 1 degree of Aquarius. And now, this many months later, they come into this creative, self-expressive trine. And it's again at 1 degree of Aquarius, Pluto is. And then, of course, Venus is at the 1st degree of Libra, of which she's very happy to be. So on the right here, we see that Mercury stations direct at 22 degrees of Libra. The Sabian symbol, we'll look at this even more closely, a carrier pigeon fulfilling its mission. Spiritual purpose, having a specific goal, trains spiritual knowledge towards a given purpose and makes it safer and more constructive. You know, this sense that you know, in a way we're doing God's work or the goddess's work can be a very heady experience, and it can be very joyful and very fulfilling. But we also have to be careful that we don't um, go into the danger of feeling that we know the mind of God, goddess, all that is. All right. So, all right, let's go to each chart. This is the last quarter moon in Gemini. So the last quarter of the lunation cycle brings in the process of individuation. Individuation is breaking free from societal norms and allowing yourself to be the captain of your own ship. But you don't look to the outer authority. At this point, you're looking at the inner authority within you. So we're the captain of our own ship, yet we are moving at this time into more collectivity. We're moving into progressivism. We're moving into the collective whole of humanity, and then ultimately all living beings in Pisces. So this is the last sort of part of the cycle where we move from being sort of at the top of our game and then moving into taking all we've learned and all our talents and abilities and bringing them forth to benefit humanity. So that's always a nice time, right? The sun at 4 degrees of Virgo, that should say Virgo, not Vigo. Black and white children playing happily together, freedom from prejudicial mental constructs and belief, in a square to the moon at 4 of Gemini. Holly and mistletoe reawaken old memories of Christmas, accessing primitive wisdom. And so we have, in a way, a combination of a deep knowing from the very beginnings of our time here on Earth, you know, next to a symbol of our ability to get over really the mental sickness of prejudice, the idea that anybody is better than anybody else. Primitive man knew that wasn't true. That was more of a construct when people decided that if you were lighter skinned, or they would rationalize a reason that one was better than the other. When in true form, as we move into this state of individuation and then collectivity, we realize that that is not true. And an interesting symbol for this time, at least in our country, America, my country, America, I should say. So Venus makes a waxing trine to Uranus on the 27th. Venus waxing trine Uranus brings being open to new experiences in Venus things, relationship, art, self-expression. Change now is unimpeded. There's nothing that gets in the way of a trine. And so it is a really powerful flow. And Uranus is an energy of change. And Venus, of course, is an energy of relationship and relating. So this is an opportunity for us to open ourselves up and relate in a different way to different people with different ideas. So change is unimpeded. This is part of the Venus-Uranus synod, the point of maximum ego and creative self-expression, this waxing trine on the seeds planted at the initial conjunction. That occurred on the 18th of May, and that was at 24 degrees of Taurus. Interesting symbol, an Indian warrior riding fiercely, human scalps hanging from his belt, channeled aggression. This is an understanding of the need to, in some cases, be aggressive if, in fact, it's your very being that is, or your very way of being in danger of being decimated. And so I think that we saw that at the DNC when many people and many Republicans actually came in unity with the Democrats to save democracy, really, to save the promise of democracy, which would be a fading memory if we allowed Donald Trump and his minions to take over the country, as it were. So now we have Venus at 28 degrees of Virgo, a bald-headed man who has seized power. There is a time that such an intensification of vital energy that old structures crack, old standards are thrown away, and new ways find a foothold and begin their time. That is exactly what's happening. Interesting. It's in that Venus is at this degree because Venus is the power of the feminine, and we have Uranus at 28 degrees of Taurus. A woman past her change of life experiences new love, perpetual new beginnings. And so this is really the story of us, right? We go through these transformational changes. We're one way, and then we have the power to change and transform into something, perhaps a more ideal version of ourselves. All right. Oops. Oh dear. Okay, I'm sorry. I just lost my place. Let me find myself again. Resume slideshow. Okay, hold on one second, guys. I'm gonna find the little person. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. I just tapped in. Can we? All right, let's do this. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. I don't know what I did. Oh, hopefully I'm still recording. I think so. Okay. Next. Telling you. August 28th, we have Venus making an opposition to Neptune. It just trined. What's interesting is Venus, the feminine, this week is trining Uranus. Uranus is one of the transpersonal planets. It sort of cracks open the egg. It brings in the light. It illuminates us. Then it makes an opposition to Neptune. Neptune is another transpersonal energy, bringing the idea of unity and dissolving away the boundaries that separate us. And then she makes a trine to Pluto. And Pluto is also a transpersonal planet, and Pluto is a planet of change and transformation, of death and rebirth. So the feminine is having these major aspects with all the transpersonal planets, as we see Kamala Harris accepting the nomination for president for the Democratic Party. Venus opposing Neptune, the halfway point of the Venus-Neptune synod, which began on April 3rd at 28 degrees of Pisces. The symbol for that was a fertile garden under a full moon. Enough is a feast. Says James Burgess, which is where I get this information from, jamesburgess.com. Success in mastering the earth plane is measured by our ability to win abundance without becoming a slave to greed. Now Venus is at 30 degrees of Virgo. Totally intent upon completing an immediate task, a man is deaf to any allurement. Penetrative concentration of attention. That's the symbol, to completely concentrate on what's in front of you. Having journeyed far and wide to find the gate to the secret garden, we must strike boldly and not be distracted by anything in any realm, rejecting the false through the unusual power of concentration. So we must focus and concentrate on that which we want to bring in, okay? And to the exclusion of all else. Opposing Neptune at 30 degrees of Pisces, the great stone face, becoming our own ideal. Becoming our own ideal. So this really is, and it is, because we're dealing with Pisces, there is an idealism and it is sort of otherworldly, but we can access the power of this time. It may not be perfect, and we're going to see that in the next couple of symbols. We are human. We are never quite, we can never reach the ideal, but we need to aspire. We need the desire to aspire to our highest potentials, our highest ability, our most authentic and loving self. That's really what this is asking us to do. And I just want to point out here, um, here is, where is Venus? Venus, here's Venus making an opposition to Neptune. Here's Venus making a trine to Uranus. And here's Venus making a trine to Pluto. We actually have a kite with Venus, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. Talk about a time for the divine feminine to rise. On the 28th, we have Mercury stationed direct at 22 degrees of Leo, a carrier pigeon, same symbol as I spoke of before, spiritual purpose, having a specific goal, trains spiritual knowledge towards a given purpose and makes it safer and more constructive. Now I always look at the sign that a planet changes direction in, and it's changed direction in Leo. So the sun is the ruler of Leo. So I want to see what the sun is doing. And we have a harem at 7 of Virgo. Being, not doing. We tend to emphasize strongly that which we are doing without giving much attention simply to being what we are. Unemotional acceptance of what cannot be changed. So this is in a way about accepting ourselves, accepting our situation, and finding the light within it. We cannot assume that we are in the wrong place. We are here now in the exact right place at the exact right time, doing the exact thing that we are here to do. And so we need to start where we are and be where we are. And I think this Mercury is reminding us of that. So that is very exciting. On the 29th, we have Venus ingressing into Libra. Venus in her domicile, a room of her own, right? She likes being in this room, beautifully appointed and in balance. Lovely, probably some flowered wallpaper and some beautiful, lots of light, sheer curtains, the perfect situation where you feel at peace, where you feel at home, where you feel in balance. Find that spot in your day, find that spot in your week. And if you don't have it like in the physical realm, find it in your mind and find it in your heart and go there and go there. So 1 degree of Libra, this is the symbol I was speaking of, about a butterfly made perfect by a dart through it, becoming the embodiment of an archetype. Even if only in conceptual terms, there exists a perfect specimen of humanity, the Christ ideal, which we can reach towards, understanding that we are an imperfect example of the ideal. So this is about being our best selves. Is it perfect? Will it be perfect? No. Will we have to accept the imperfection? Of course. Of course. And then shortly thereafter, Venus makes a trine, because now Aquarius is actually at 003 minutes of Aquarius. And as soon as Venus moves 3 minutes into Libra, we have this trine. It is a creative, self-expressive Leo side trine. Okay, it is the pinnacle of our will, the pinnacle of our creative power. It is part of the Venus-Pluto synod, transformation of values, issues of love and desire, the power of the feminine, all themes of that synod. This began on February 17th at 1 degree of Aquarius. That was a 27-9 vibration day. That's the Ace of Wands in the tarot. And that, in fact, is Kamala Harris's soul vibration, among other people, also Barack Obama. So that was February 17th. And now we have Venus at 1 degree of Libra, Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius, and you can see it's not very much in Aquarius. And in a few days, it's going to back up into Capricorn for one more go, for one more dance in the Capricorn energy. All right. So thanks for joining me today. It's always fun to share this with you. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. For those of you who are interested in taking a Kabbalah class with me, Introduction to the Kabbalah will begin September 19th. It's a Thursday night, 7 to 9 Eastern. It's a 6-week class. I do it for 6 consecutive Thursdays. All classes are recorded, and so if you want to come, but you can't make all the Thursdays, you will still get the recordings of the classes. This class is pretty much the nuts and bolts of the Tree of Life, just so we can get the language down and the understanding of exactly what it is or how you can work with it. And then I move a little bit into how I work with the Tree of Life. And then there is a second class if you want to get deeper into my system that I work with the Tree of Life. But that is starting, like I said, on the 19th. If you want to join us and register, there is space available. I will put a link below for that. And if you have had a reading with me, this is your opportunity to get a little deeper. If you haven't had a reading with me, it is not necessary to take this class. It is helpful though. And I do have some availability in September still. So if you want to take the class and you want to get a reading before the class, I'll work with you. Or during the class, I'll work with you. As I said, it's not necessary, but it might be more fulfilling that way. I do these classes about every 6 months, so I will not have this class again till the spring. So if you're interested, join me. I love teaching in September. It seems like you should, right? Okay, guys, have a great week. It's gonna be a good one. I mean, things are you're gonna hear stuff and just let it go. Let it go. Focus on what you need to do, what you need. We need to bring this energy forward. And as Susan Lynn said in one of her videos, we're the wave and Kamala is the surfer, Kamala and Tim. So we have to continue focusing on that which we want to bring forth, and allowing the universe to do it in the way that is most efficacious, not always the way we think is most efficacious. So just be aware of that. Don't lose hope, don't lose faith, just focus on what you want to see, whether that be in the political situation or in your life. Okay. Much love, everyone. Oh my goodness, what a ride it's been. Take care. Much love. Namaste.